Hello everyone. Yip Man has been living for many years on martial arts and his popularity. After all, he was the teacher of Bruce Lee himself. However, life presents him with a tragic lesson that forces him to change priorities. The martial arts master saved many people but could not save the life of the closest person. Yip Man is a famous martial artist Wing Chun. He lives in Hong Kong with his wife and youngest son. One early morning, a young guy named Xiaolong comes to his house. He wants to become Yip Man's disciple. To pass the selection, you need to show your speed to the master. Yip Man lights a match, lights a cigarette, but the guy can't stop his actions with blows. However, the young fighter did not lose his head, and then successfully repelled the improvised attacks of the master. Yip Man appreciated his abilities, but did not give an answer. He silently opens the front door and looks at the guy with a seeing-off look. At a Hong Kong elementary school, kids run outside to watch the spectacle. Two boys Ip Chin and Ching Fong are going to fight in Wing Chun style to find out who is better and stronger. However, the skirmish turns into a regular fight. Everyone got in the eye, and the teacher came running to separate the guys. Boys have to make a compress of boiled eggs. Ip Chin's mother helps the teacher in this. Later, the father also comes, Yip Man himself, who lingered in the martial arts hall, but no one took Chang Fong. His father is a rickshaw driver and is busy at work. Looks like he's having a hard time supporting his family. The boy is obviously hungry and wants to eat the egg from which he was given a compress. Yip Man and his wife notice this and invite him to their house for dinner. Chang Fong is having a good time with new acquaintances. He is fed a large portion of a delicious dinner, and then he works out on a martial arts simulator. Yip Man notes that the boy already has a good preparation. Chang Fong's father comes to pick him up. He calls his son a disciple, and the boy calls his father a master. In the presence of parents, the jerks apologize to each other and promise to be friends. The same is done by fathers. On the way home, the master and the disciple discuss Ip Mana. Chang Tingchi promises his son that one day he will become much stronger and more famous. It turns out the man is fighting for money. During the fight, the boss of the criminals, Frank, arrives. It's Iron Mike himself. He is met by Making Hank. He assures the boss that everything is under control and gives the earned money. Frank discusses a new criminal plan to his subordinates. To fulfill it, you need to take possession of a Hong Kong elementary school. He gives 2 weeks to resolve the issue. During the conversation, Frank looks with interest at the ring where Tinchi is fighting and notes for himself that the fighter is very good. A reporter arrives at the martial arts school where Yip Man teaches. He wants to write an article in the newspaper and take a group photo. When everyone is seated, a Pan is called to the phone. This is his wife and he forgot about the meeting at the dance club. Wing Sing is offended and says that he may not come anymore, and Yip Man does not take his wife's offense into his head at all. The photo is more important for him now and the headmaster himself left him a place right in the center. Yip Man comes to pick up his son from school. Passers-by women recognize him, speak to him and make compliments. The master is pleased with this. He is friendly with everyone. There, Yip Man meets his new friend, Tinky. In conversation, they find out that they studied martial art from one master. It turns out they are brothers in arms. Tinchi hints that they could fight to evaluate each other's skills. Ip Manu does not like this turn of events. He responds with restraint and turns away, ending the conversation. Frank's assistants show up at the school and intimidate the principal, and Making San gives the teachers an ultimatum. The principal has to sell the school. Having been refused, the bandit forces him to sign the papers and the frightened man disappears until Yip Man appears. He noticed this suspicious trio when he was leaving with his son. The master masterfully neutralizes the attackers and calls the police. Since children are in danger, it would be good to establish surveillance of the school, but Detective Fat Poo tells Ip Man that he cannot do this. Crime is rampant in Hong Kong and they leave for every call, just as they arrive now. In case of danger, the detective promises to send an outfit again. The next morning, the school gates are boarded up. Parents, students and teachers crowd at the entrance in bewilderment. Together, the men from the crowd dismantle the barricade and open the school for classes, but this is being watched by the bandits already known to us. Yip Man and his students spot them in the crowd. The master realized that they would not leave the school just like that and decides to be on duty here at night with the students of the martial arts school. When it seemed that the first shift had already passed without incident, criminals burst into the school grounds in a huge crowd. They are divided into two groups. Some take on Yip Man, while others break into classrooms, fill them with gasoline and set them on fire. The criminals take the headmaster with a bag on his head with them. Master Yip Man rushes to save the director, and a crowd of bandits with sticks tries to stop him, but numerical superiority does not help them. Yip Man has an impeccable command of Wing Chun art. His movements are light, his blows are accurate, and he moves with lightning speed. Tinchin also appears near the school. He throws the rickshaw and fights. His Wing Chun technique was no less perfect. Opponents fly apart as easily as autumn leaves in the wind. The raiders escape, leaving the director. The fire at the school has been extinguished. The crowd gathered to thank only Yip Man and his students for saving, but the master catches up and thanks the Tinky who left unnoticed. Returning home, Yip Man meets his wife's displeasure. He doesn't come home for dinner anyway, and now you can't wait for him at night, but the master has an excuse. He is needed at school to guard it and put out fires. Tinky, along with his son, look after a vacant room after work. After all, a man's dream is to open his own school and teach Wing Chun skills. The Fat Po brings the police chief a report on the night arson of the school, and asks for permission to start an investigation. However, he encounters an unexpected reaction. The boss leaves the documents with him under the pretext that he will do it himself. Yip Man continues to be on duty at the school. His wife is home alone again when she gets sick for the first time. Wing Sing goes to the pharmacy complaining of pain in the lower abdomen and is offered pills to normalize blood circulation. The Fat Po tells Yip Man that he was not given permission to investigate the case of the arson of the school. The chief of police has long been bought by bandits and this case is hopeless. Master IP does not agree with him. He believes that every effort should be made to the case. After all, the students of the school are the future society and they will grow up as an example they will take from adults. Yip Man returns home again at night. His wife and son are no longer waiting for him and are sleeping peacefully. Only a cold dinner is waiting for him on the table. In the morning, Wing Sing gets worse and she immediately goes to the hospital. The doctor examines her and tells her the terrible news: she has cancer. Returning home, Wing Sing sees her husband on the street. He is in a good mood as always and surrounded by people who really need him. Meanwhile, Tinchi finished off another opponent. King Sang detains him after the fight and offers him good money to become a mercenary, and if he refuses, he will not be able to fight here anymore. For the sake of his son and the dream of his own school, Tinchi agrees to dirty work and is assigned to beat up the director of the martial arts school. Yip Man returns home, but a phone call immediately directs him to the hospital. The director of the martial arts school entered there in a serious condition. Wing Sing silently releases her husband without saying a word. It was only at the hospital that Yip Man realized that he had bought into the bandit's trick, which worked perfectly. King San distracted him, and he took advantage of the time and kidnapped the children from school. The villain is ready to exchange the children for the principal of a Hong Kong elementary school, whom he wants to force to sell it. Master Yip Man goes to the bandit's lair alone. Against armed criminals, he only has a bamboo pole. His son, who is also among the abducted, calls him from the cage. Threatening the boy with a knife, King San forces the master to throw away the weapon. Kneel down and bow. Yip Man humbly carries out the punishment. At this time, Tinchi appears. His son was also among the captured children, but in front of Yip Man, the boy is released, and a crowd of mercenaries are sent to IP Man himself. However, the promise of children to be friends turned out to be stronger than the promise of parents. Not for the sake of IP Man, but at the request of his son, Tinky returns to free the hostages. While Master IP easily deals with a crowd of bandits, Tinky fights with King Sang. The bandit turns out to be weaker and in order to save his skin, he grabs Tinchin's son and runs away under the cover of a crowd of fighters. Master IP catches up with him in the hangar, snatches his son and continues the battle. He manages to hold out until the police arrive. While the guards pack the mercenaries in handcuffs, King San jumps out of the window and runs away. The Fat Po brings reporters with him, who take pictures of everything for an article in the newspaper on the front page. Yip Man and his son are returning home. Wing Sing meets them in tears. She is angry at Yip Man that he allowed his son to get into danger. For the first time in a long time, the master pays attention to the feeling of his wife and sits down to talk to her. So he learns the terrible news about the deadly Wing Sing disease. The tumor is already very large and treatment is impossible. Doctors give Wing Sing no more than 6 months of life. From that moment on, the wife becomes the center of IP Man's life. The woman who was with him in sorrow and joy, wealth and poverty, and healed wounds. He helped everyone around, but he forgot about her. Frank is unhappy. The purchased police chief informs that he will not be able to protect him further if he and his bandits continue to openly commit lawlessness. The issue with the school has not been resolved, and the problems are accumulating. In order to improve the situation, Frank first throws out King Sang, and sends a new thug to IP Manu. He attacks the master when he and his wife were in the elevator, but even in a confined space, not a single blow reached Wing Sing. Under the dexterous and accurate attacks of IP Man, the opponent became exhausted and fell to the floor. The master orders him to leave. Yip Man himself comes to Frank. He wants to end all the showdowns that are hanging threat over the quiet life of his wife. Frank arrogantly examines the man the whole of China is talking about and offers to face off here and now, a boxer against a Wing Chun master. If the latter lasts 3 minutes, then Frank will leave him alone forever. Yip Man agrees to the duel. At first, It is difficult for the master to restrain the attacks of a heavyweight. He only manages to repel his crushing blows, which knock him down and break the furniture around. But after studying the opponent's style, Yip Man turns out to go on the offensive. Now Frank gets punches, and in order to get out, he wants to knock out the opponent with a branded uppercut, but does not have time to hit. Frank has to accept the truce and retreat forever. Meanwhile, Tinky rents a room with criminal money to open his martial arts school. He wants to become the most famous Wing Chun master and surpass Yip Man. To do this, he takes turns challenging lesser-known masters to a duel, and a hired reporter writes in the newspaper about each of his victories. His fame multiplies, and on the day of the opening of the school, the minister himself comes to Tianqi. In the presence of him and reporters, he publicly challenges Yip Man to a duel. The news reaches the master. However, he ignores her. Duels in the past, in his present only care about Wing. The couple spend time together and are as happy as possible when one of the couple slowly dies. One late evening, a man comes to Xiao Lung's dance studio who wants to become his disciple. A good-natured fellow who never became a student of Yip Man offers an exchange. He will teach the master to dance, and he will teach him kung fu. The day and time of the appointed duel of Yip Man and Tyson comes, at which the master does not come. For the first time in a long time he was with his beloved wife at a dance. Due to the non-appearance of the opponent, Tyson is declared the winner and the new true master of Wing Chun. The students of the Yip Man school do not tolerate injustice and raise a riot. At the dance, Wing Sing lost consciousness and the woman woke up already in the hospital. Her condition is getting worse. On the advice of doctors, Yip Man leaves his wife in the ward, but comes every day, feeds soup and brings his son. Wing Sing had already prepared for imminent death. She asks Yip Man to take the last family photos together. The woman is released from the hospital for a while. After meeting with the photographer, the couple go home and their Wing Sing unexpectedly tells Yip Man that he has been with her for many days, but he belongs to his school too and must go to the duel. Moreover, she had already invited Tinky herself. Yip Man and Wing Sing arrive at the school. Tinky and Yip Man, just the two of them, no reporters, ministers and onlookers. The first weapon in the duel becomes a bamboo pole. Opponents shower each other with light and precise techniques, but no one can bypass the opponent's defense. Each of them seems to see his own reflection. Their technique is equally flawless. In confirmation of the equality of weapons, it breaks at the same time. The next stage is a fight with cleavers. The screech of metal breaks the silence of space. Opponents strike mercilessly, but each of them still meets the iron protection of the other. Superiority no, the forces are equal again. There remains only hand-to-hand combat. Powerful melee attacks begin to take away strength and everyone misses one hit. The Tinch use a forbidden technique, a punch in the eye. Yip Man loses his visual orientation in space and he has to rely only on hearing, but this leads him to a state of maximum concentration and speed. The master accurately and with lightning speed hits the opponent in the body. Tinky collapsed. It became clear from his look that he accepted defeat. Wing Sing died. Yip Man continued his life's work and received the title of a great master, and also taught Wing Chun techniques to his son. Share it in the comments. Do you know real stories when fame, popularity made a person forget about loved ones? As always, look for the title of the film in the description. Like the video and don't miss the next retelling.